Start to finish, how to preserve your breast milk and make a resin keychain. So we gather our supplies, our breast milk. I have mine in syringes, a bowl, spoon, and stick to stir, and then of course our preservation powder, parchment paper to smear it on and dry. So I'm emptying my Milky Treasures preservation powder into my bowl here. This is one full packet, and I'm just going to follow the instructions on the back of the packet regarding how much milk you need. So I used my syringes here, and it is colostrum, which is why it's a little more yellow than regular breast milk. And I needed to add a little bit more per the instructions, that if it's too thick, just add a little bit more, and you just mix till you can't mix anymore. The final consistency is like extremely thick glue. So then we're going to smear it down on the parchment paper. I taped mine down, and I actually had to add extra tape. So smear it as thin as you possibly can, and after it's smeared, we're going to let it cure. The instructions say at least 24 hours. I waited 48 hours to be extra sure. At this point, they are hard and crispy like tortilla chips, and you're just going to break them up and put them in your bowl there, and then you're going to blend them up, pulverize them as finely as you can. I used a food processor to pulverize mine. So I separated mine out with a sifter to get the extra thin particles out. So that is my extra thin fine powder. I have my silicone mold. Then I also have my resin. I have a 1-to-1 ratio. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mix per the ratio, and then I am going to put them together just like the instructions. So follow your instructions for whatever resin, epoxy resin that you are using. They're all slightly different, but mine is a 1-to-1 ratio. So I pour them into my different cups, and then I'm going to use my stick to carefully combine them. Now the key here is to mix slowly. Now I have mixed in my breast milk powder there, and then now I'm going to mix in my silvery mica powder to add a silvery finish. I have sped this up to 10 times speed, but you are going to mix incredibly slowly because you do not want air bubbles. The air bubbles are your enemy. So once you have mixed probably about 5 minutes, you are going to pour it into your mold here, and then you're going to make sure that there are no air bubbles in the top. You're going to leave this to cure in a well-ventilated place for about 48 hours, at least 24 hours. And if you take it out of the mold and there's any give in it, you need to let it cure longer. So I'm using the stick here to make sure that there's no air bubbles on the top, and you're going to leave this lying flat. Now this is after 48 hours. It has cured, and we're just going to simply take it out of the mold. So I'm going to remove it from the mold, and it should be rock solid here. You take it out if you notice that there are any rough edges, which can happen. If they're a little bit sharp and you don't want them to be sharp, just simply take some sandpaper and carefully sand the edges. You'll notice that the thicker chunks of breast milk powder and silvery powder went to the bottom of my mold, so both sides look slightly different. Overall, I was very pleased with how easy this project was, and it was totally worth it.